Good afternoon, one and all present here. December 1, 1955. Somewhere in the state of Alabama, USA. It's an early evening. A city bus comes to a halt, and a sensibly dressed woman in her 40s gets on the bus. She quietly watches other passengers getting on the boat as she finds herself a seat reserved for the blacks on the bus. The bus moves forward, and there comes a point in the journey where the driver of the bus orders her to offer her seat to a white passenger. The woman, named Rosa Parks, utters a single word, and it ignites the greatest civil rights movement of all times. And the word was no. The driver of the bus threatened to get her arrested, to which she had one response: "You are free to do so." On the afternoon of her trial and conviction for her misconduct, the Blacks Association held a rally in her support. More than 5,000 people had gathered to extend their support for a lonely act of courage. The Reverend Martin Luther King addresses the crowd. There comes a time when people get tired of being trampled over by the iron feet of oppression. He tells them. He praises her bravery and gives her a hug. She stands silently beside the king, being the sole symbol of strength and courage. Together, they went on to change the course of American history. It was in 2005 when, at the age of 92, Rosa Parks died. And she was described as someone timid and shy. Just imagine, the woman who had sparked off the greatest movements was labeled as someone small in stature. Why do you think was it so? Is it because she wasn't the voice of the movement? Often in our lives, we will notice that personality-wise, people often get categorized as extroverts or introverts. Extroverts are often associated as someone who is gregarious, as someone who is bold, sociable, outspoken, and frequently found at a party or a social gathering. Whereas an introvert is associated as someone who is thoughtful, serious, sensitive, emotional, and less outspoken. When asked which personality type would you want to be, people will often prefer to go with the extrovert side. And it does make sense. Even the introverts don't want to call themselves as introverts. You go and ask an introvert, "Sir, are you an introvert?" And his first response would be like, "No." Then he will gently point out to the number of people he has spoken to in the room. "You see that person over there? He's Ashish. He's a chartered accountant. You see that person over there? He's Jawahar. He works in an MNC. Just imagine, in a gathering of 100, he could manage to speak to just 3 of them, and yet he wants to be called an extrovert. This is the thing. Yet, we are conditioned to believe that if we want to look successful, then extroversion is the way to go. Sure, when it comes to professions like banking, marketing, or even politics, we got to be outspoken and we got to be social. But my friends, when it comes to introverts, they have their own unique set of traits. Let me share with you all what the world of introverts brings to the table. Introverts listen when others speak. Cautious listening is what a leader needs to have. While an extrovert may be there to speak the loudest or maybe the most and be the center of attention, but it is the introvert who will always listen carefully what others have to speak and speak only when he thinks he has something meaningful to contribute. Introverts make deeper connections. Yes, extroverts may be known to make quicker number of relations or numerous number of relations, but it is the introverts who are adept at making deeper relations. Quality over quantity is their way to go. Introverts work well in solitude. Bill Gates once explained that isolation, deep focus, and internalization have helped him succeed in an extrovert dominated world. Working in isolation is what enables the introverts focus better and contribute better. E is equal to MC square and Harry Potter wouldn't have been in this world if we didn't have introverts like Einstein or J.K. Rowling. For this world to be a better place, for every extrovert, we need an equal and opposite introvert. Take the partnership of Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. A formidable, brash, bold orator refusing to give up his seat on the segregated bus wouldn't have the same effect. But the introverted Rosa Parks, who would otherwise prefer to stay silent, refusing to give up her seat and stand up against the oppression, had the effect of the movement. It wasn't the introverted Rosa Parks who had the voice to thrill a crowd and stand up if she wanted to and say, I had a dream. It was the extroverted Martin Luther King who was beside her so that she could reach the length and breadth of the country. As I mentioned earlier, for this world to be a better place, for every extrovert, we need an equal and opposite introvert. As I delivered the message of being vulnerable in my very first speech, I take this opportunity to make a revelation with you all. Due to inherent traits of my personality, I'm yet to deliver the best as a potential leader, both on a professional and a societal front. It was back in first year of my college. I happened to give the famous Big Five personality test. And it was then when I came to know that, wow, now I can officially label myself as an introvert. And guess what? Yes, I take pride in accepting myself as an introvert. But does that mean I cannot be a successful leader? And the answer is a big no. Here I am, sitting in a company of astounding leaders, evolving myself as a potential leader. Introverts can be leaders, ladies and gentlemen. Introverts can be leaders.